Let's move on to the third and final main topic today. And our third and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Ezra. And Ezra writes, "Hey, John and crew. Saw news that the Fast and Furious series is set to end with 2 more installments after 9, so that means we would still have 3 films still to come, both with Justin Lin directing. Do you have any thoughts on this?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, it is the Energizer Bunny that just keeps on going and going. It is the Fast and the Furious franchise. To set the table, I was not a Fast and Furious fan. Actually, I still hold a lot of hatred for the first Fast and Furious movie. It is nothing but a Point Break ripoff. Plain and simple. That's what it is. 2 I thought was terrible. 3 I thought was terrible. And 4 I thought it started to turn around. And then 5, 6, and 7, I just fell in love with the franchise. And it's just kept going and going. This is a franchise unlike any other we have really seen in the modern era. A franchise of a silly, kind of fun, popcorny series, if you will, that took on a life of its own and kept going and going and growing and growing. The little injection of franchise Viagra known as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson didn't hurt either. And it just kept growing and growing. And even when they put out a couple of subpar efforts, like maybe in what do they call it? Fate of the Furious, Fast 8. That wasn't so great, but I still had fun with it. It still made tons of money. And now we're waiting on 9. It was supposed to be in theaters already. We're going to be still waiting for a while. But they came out and announced that they are indeed already greenlighting 2 more, 10 and 11, and that 11, they're saying, will be the final installment. This comes to us from the folks at Screen Rant. Oh, this was the wrong one. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who writes, "The central Fast and Furious franchise will come to a conclusion after the 10th and 11th films," Variety has confirmed. Justin Lin, who directed the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 9th Fast and the Furious films, will return to direct the final 2 installments and drive the franchise, you see what they did there? And drive the franchise to the finish line after over 2 decades in the theater. That is wild to think about that. 2 decades in the theaters. This is key. This does not, however, necessarily mean that the Fast and Furious cinematic universe is coming to an end. Now, that's a key thing to say, because while they are saying right now there's not going to be a Fast and Furious 12, that doesn't mean movies in the Fast and the Furious universe are going to come to an end. They've already had Hobbs and Shaw. Big hit, made over close to $750 million at the box office, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to do more of those. And they are going to look at doing additional spin-offs. But as far as that core, Fast and Furious, the whole family being together for Fast and Furious 12, 13, 14, 15, and onward, they're saying that's coming to an end. Responses around the internet have been interesting, maybe none more interesting than the response from MCU and DC Universe director James Gunn, who responded to this news. He came out on Twitter and to the news of them ending the Fast and Furious after 11, and James Gunn writes, "Universal announces it will stop printing money just because." Universal announces it will stop printing money just because, which I thought was a rather insightful kind of look at that. But I mean, think about this. If you look back at when that first Fast and the Furious movie came out, I think I was just graduating high school at the time. If you would have told me at that time that when I came out of the theater of that first Fast and Furious movie, fuming because I was so mad that it was ripping off a far superior film in Point Break, Johnny Utah. But if you had told me, hey, guess what? This franchise is going to go on for over 2 decades. 20 years from now, you will be doing a movie show and you're going to be talking about the 9th, 10th, and 11th films in these franchises, which would have grossed billions of dollars. I would have said you're an idiot. But who's the idiot? Here they are. They're still making these films. But I'm going to come out on a limb right now and tell you this, Rob. I don't believe this for a second. I'm telling you right now, I do not believe this for a second. I do not believe that there will not be a Fast and the Furious 12. I just don't believe it. Now, that can change, of course. I mean, we could get to Fast and the Furious 10 and it makes like $500 million, which is great for most movies, but it makes $500 million. And then they do 11 and it makes $425 million. And then, okay, yeah, I'll believe they're not doing it in 12. But I'm telling you what, they put out Fast and Furious 11 or 10 and it makes, or 9, let's start with 9, that hasn't even come out in theaters. They come out with Fast and Furious 9, it makes $900 million. They come out with Fast and the Furious 10, it makes $1.1 billion. They come out with Fast and Furious 11, it makes $875 million. I don't believe for a second they're going to stop. What does Universal have in its quiver right now, Rob? What does Universal have in its quiver other than, dinosaurs with Jurassic World? What do they have in their quiver that they can point at and say, here's a franchise that will be guaranteed moneymakers for us in a given year? What do they got? They don't have much. Their Dark Universe didn't pan out so well for them. So, barring massive collapse in the Fast and Furious franchise over the coming 3 films, I don't believe for a second that the 12 will be the last one, even if they have spin-offs planned. Now, I believe that some of them at Universal may believe it right now. Maybe because you're looking at 3 films down the line. We still got 9 to come out, and we got to have 10, and we got to have 11. I have no doubt maybe Vin Diesel himself is thinking, you know what, guys, we've been doing this a long time. I mean, maybe after we've been doing this for another 5 or 6 years, it's time to cut off. Maybe that is what they're feeling right now. But money talks, Rob. Money talks. And this thing is, as James Gunn so accurately pointed out, this franchise is printing its own money. I don't see this happening. But Rob, I wanted to ask you about this. What is getting lost in this is that unlike a lot of franchises, they're already coming out and not announcing the next movie. This is basically an announcement of the next 2 movies, and the fact that by the end of the day, with Justin Lin directing these things, this is essentially, if it wasn't already, making the Fast and the Furious really a Justin Lin franchise. But anyway, Rob, you've heard this news that 11 will apparently be the final one. What's your reaction to this and what stands out to you?
Well, I'm a big staunch supporter of this franchise. I love it for what it is. And I love the fact this means we're getting Sun Kang. They said he's going to be in all 3. Well, the one we've got coming out, we know he comes back and he's going to be in 2 of these. So justice for Han, I think, is served. But other than that, there's one thing that people don't necessarily always take into account. And whenever these franchises are this successful, what ends up happening is everybody that's involved with making them gets paid more and more money. And you get to a point where, especially with an ensemble cast and the same filmmakers, they get paid more and more money. They get performance bonuses when something does well. So it gets to a point where when a movie, even a Fast and the Furious movie, let's say the outside earning potential of that movie, $1.5 billion. I think Part 7 made that. Or less. So you're paying people more and more and more money for each film, but you're still making the same amount of money. So it's costing you a lot more. So the films, they still are making tons of money, but Universal is paying out more and more and more money. So they're actually making less per film than they used to. So it actually is a law of diminishing returns. So ultimately, if you get rid of your core cast, you can keep the concept going, but if you stop with Vin Diesel, he might get a consulting producing fee or something, but you don't have to pay him his what he's going to be making on these next movies, and then you've got the rest of the cast, what they're making and what Justin Lin is making and what the writers are making and the producers are making. These films, when they get this successful, that's why sometimes franchises just end, after a trilogy or a 4th movie. Look at Pirates of the Caribbean. It gets to the point where, well, we have to get rid of Johnny Depp because we can't, he's got enough problems, but we're not going to pay him what we'd have to pay him because then the movie isn't profitable or not as profitable as it should be. So I think that's kind of where they're at with this franchise. They can't make really any more with the core cast and the core creative team because they make too much money. So the profitability of these films, as much as they earn, they're earning less and less and less for the studio. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Rob, I've got a pitch for you. I've got a pitch. Tell me what you think of this. and I this is inspired by a conversation I see going on in the live chat. Okay, take this. You got to up the stakes in every movie, right? Every movie's got to have the stakes go up. What if Dom and the team have to steal this doomsday device so it doesn't destroy the world, but they realize it's going to go off, but there's nobody in the world right now that knows how to deactivate this doomsday, and in order to save the world, they've got to take all their race cars and drive at a certain speed and jump into the future 1,000 years, and they end up on the same world as Star Trek Discovery is on right now, and they make a giant crossover cinematic universe. Will that get you into Star Trek Discovery if Dominic Toretto is there too, and he joins Starfleet?
Only if the doomsday device is what destroyed all the dilithium and created the burn. As
see, you're already creatively thinking about this. See, your mind's already working on it.
So it was actually the Fast and the Furious crew that destroyed the Federation.
Accidentally destroyed it. There, see, your mind, man. The way that you interconnect these narrative threads is a thing of beauty.
I'm telling you. I you know, what can I say? Look. Here's what I'm pulling for. I want the Han spinoff. Han, you can still get Sun Kang cheaper than, say, Dominic Toretto, cheaper than Vin Diesel. Give me my Han and Giselle trilogy. Gal Gadot and Han traveling around Europe fighting crime before they, before Giselle dies. Make it a period piece, from 10 years ago, and just give me that. I want to see Han and Giselle traveling around Europe, heart-to-heart style, having a romantic time solving crimes.
Now let me ask you this, because every time the Fast 9 comes up, because we check in on this every couple of months, I want to see where your head's on this right now. What do you think the chances are right now that Han actually ends up being the villain of like the final, not only of 9, but maybe like the final 3 films, and it's family versus, because I remember you thought there's a distinct possibility that they do that Han, something happened in that period of time, and now whatever, maybe he's that mysterious voice at the end of Hobbs and Shaw. I don't know. Where's your thinking right now on that Han actually gets revealed to be like the big antagonist for the last couple of films? I mean,
as long as he wins and kills everybody in the end and he's left standing.
As long as he wins.
I mean, I want Han, and then he goes back to Tokyo and takes over the entire Yakuza. The entire Japanese underworld is now being led by a Korean. And maybe he teams up with Lucy Liu a la Kill Bill, and they run all of Asia. That's I would like that. I would like him to be an uber villain that wipes out all the rest of the team.
All right, listen, guys. You guys know my thought on this. I just don't believe that 12 is going to be the final one, but I decided to make that the topic of today's question of the day. And I simply asked you guys this when I put this up just before the show started. I put up this question. Right now, almost 3,500 of you guys have already voted on it. Question. They just announced that Fast and Furious 11 will be the final one. Do you actually believe that? Right now, only 32% of you believe it. Only 32% of you are saying, yes, there won't be a number 12. And 68% of you seem to agree with James Gunn, saying, no, you don't believe it. They'll keep printing money. That's where we are on that right now. That's how I'm feeling about it. But the question is, how are you guys feeling about that right now? Do you guys think that Fast and Furious 11 will actually be the final in the franchise? If so, how do you guys feel about that? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.